Okay, so basically everybody knows I'm a big fan of John Carpenter's 1982 film The Thing. I consider it to be a cinematic masterpiece. It is my favorite film of all time. And I know there's a lot of reviews and discussions out there in YouTube land which analyze and discuss the film in much more details than I ever will be doing in this video. Plus, there are people out there who are much more collectible oriented than I am, since I stopped being a collector many years ago, but you never get rid of that collector gene. Basically, I just want to talk about a few little things, a few little odd bits, and we'll discover them together just for shits and giggles. I've always been a big fan of the soundtrack by Ennio Morricone, even though the official soundtrack as it was released upon original release, features only the tracks composed and conducted by Mr. Morricone. It doesn't feature those little interludes, those musical interludes that are spread across the film, which were obviously Carpenter and Alan Howarth little instrumental drones and stingers and whatnot. Even though this soundtrack has been discontinued for many years, I managed to score 3 copies, 2 of which are original, and this one, however, it's a photocopy. It didn't come with the cover, so I just basically makeshifted and printed a copy of the cover itself. Years later, Alan Howarth released this album here, which is basically most of the soundtrack by Ennio Morricone, except he actually redid the entire thing, including bits and pieces, those morsels I was talking about in the previous segment, where he actually just recreates some of those short atmospheric synthesizer lines here and there. Although it's a good release, it's a good accompaniment, and you know, any Thing soundtrack fan completist must own this. There's a couple of shall we say discrepancies in terms of the product, the end product itself. Most notably, what I noticed that there seemed to have been some kind of a problem with the digital file transfer from I don't know where the original bug comes from, but you can clearly hear it in some of the pieces, that there's a kind of like a small digital distortion which can be heard when you transfer files between digital format, as well as a slight time signature F-up in the main Humanity Part 2 theme, which he redoes in his version here on this. Actually, like I said, all of these pieces are redone by Alan Howarth, and like I say, it's pretty good for the most part, except for those 2 little problems that I noticed, which I thought were detracted from the final product. Now, here's one you don't see every day. This is actually the audio cassette version. Yep, that's right. Good old audio tape, and it's still in playable format. This is like an original from the time itself. It's I don't know how hard it is to find, or who would want to actually own this except for a bona fide collector, but somebody in my past lives managed to find one of these tapes and gave them to me because they knew I was a big fan of the film and of the score. And of course, tapes back then had absolutely no value. Now, I don't know if this would have any value now, but it is a used product. You know, I got it used, and you know, you can't make something in better quality than if it is already used, if that makes any sense. But I don't know if this means anything to anybody. I've never actually listened to the whole cassette itself. I just played it once, ever so briefly, to see if it did work, but I never really listened to it from one end to the other, just because it's I believe it is some kind of a rarity, and it's in relatively good condition. I just want to keep it that way. This here, of course, is the original 1982 MCA Records vinyl recording for the soundtrack of The Thing. I picked this up, if I am not mistaken, this was picked up in 1983 or 1984 in New York City. Perhaps my brother will be able to confirm this. We actually bought it with my father, so my dad, my brother, and I, back in 83 or 84, went down to New York City, found this brand new back then for $2.99, bought it, and I've been holding on to it ever since. Then maybe about 15 years ago, somebody found another copy of it, so they gave it to me as a gift. So now I actually have two vinyl versions of this soundtrack, which is pretty good condition. I mean, considering, I mean, of course. One interesting thing is that if you guys remember the Thing discussion board, the Outpost 31 website back then, well, Todd Cameron, who was a major fan, he actually hunted down, this is a laser disc of the film. Now, I know this is really oddball stuff. Just gonna try it. Hold on, I'm gonna cut this because I can't get it out of the bag here. Complete with instructions on what to do and what not to do. A laser disc, for those of you who may or may not remember, this is basically what a laser disc was. It's like a big ass DVD on two sides. It plays on two sides. It's the size of a record. It's slightly thicker, although I'm not a hipster, so I don't collect modern vinyl. I collect I'll show you in a bit just for kick's sake. But yeah, here it is, a very nice The Thing laser disc. So yeah, on a side note here, many years ago, somebody found this. This is like a 12-inch. I'm going to say it's a 12-inch disco version of John Carpenter's Christine theme. Now, like I said, this is an anomaly. Somebody gave it to me because they knew I was a fan of Carpenter music, for the most part. But again, try to get these vinyls out. And of course, this one doesn't have. So let's see here. Yeah, Christine Part 1, John Carpenter, arrangement by Hennings. So this is probably like one of those re-recorded things. Like somebody probably said, hey, we can make, if we buy the rights to interpret this piece, we can make a record out of it and maybe sell it to people. So yeah, this is, it's just a strange little thing that I picked up along the way. So I just thought it would be fun just to mention it here. And here are a couple VHS versions of The Thing. If I'm not mistaken, this is... It's either one or the other, but I think this is it. This is the original VHS tape in stereo that we bought back in 1983 or 1984 when it came out. So obviously it's pan and scan, it's not widescreen, which makes me wonder. And there's another one here. This one obviously looks more modern, even though it's the same layout. I think this was just a repress. Now the stereo is right here and little side there. Yeah, but again, this is just another regular VHS and pan and scan, which was probably re-released later, in the VHS career. This is the interesting part, because this is the French version of the film, L'Effroyable Chose, which is that was the original title. When The Thing came out in French in Quebec, they translated as L'Effroyable Chose, which basically is the horrible thing. Well, actually, the original title when it came out in Quebec was called L'Effroyable Créature, but I wasn't able to hunt down a VHS copy of that one. And I just want to see if they change. I want to see how they change the title logo. So if you don't mind, we're going to go to the VHS machine. And yes, folks, some people still have VHS machines. All right, so we're just going to pop this sucker right in. And I hope that I'll be able to show some stuff without the YouTube bots censoring me. Ah, yes. Good old VHS warnings in French. Well, it's interesting. They kept the opening credits in English. Well, that was a letdown. I kind of thought that they would at least have changed the opening title sequence to to mention the title in French, but it looked like they just kept the whole thing in English just to make sure that this whole clip that I've just done for you guys was totally a total waste of time. So yeah. I will see if I find some other goodies I can talk about, well, to showcase about this film, but the whole point was for me to try to see if I could show the opening titles without being censored by YouTube, and if they actually did something different with the opening sequence, but they didn't change fuck all.